Thomas Mulcair might be Canada's next Prime Minister. I really didn't think I'd be saying those words, but poll after poll has the federal NDP in first place, or within the margin of error of first place. This is not a blip, it's a trend. Still a lot that can happen between now and the election 3 months from now, but he could be our next Prime Minister. Don't laugh. Stranger things have happened, like the NDP forming government in Alberta this May. So it's time for Thomas Mulcair to renounce his French citizenship. Seriously, did you know that Mulcair isn't just a Canadian? He is a loyal citizen of France, too. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are dual citizens. Usually they're new immigrants to Canada, but not Mulcair. He was born in Ottawa. He's actually very old stock Canadian. Did you know his great-great-grandfather, Honoré Mercier, was the Premier of Quebec in the 1880s? That's the strange part. I mean, Mulcair actually applied as a grown man to become a citizen of France. He did it out of solidarity with his wife, who was from France. Okay, that's sort of touching and charming, actually, for a personal act of affection. But now Mulcair wants to be Prime Minister for us all. You can't be loyal to two countries at the same time. It's sort of like riding two horses, like having two masters. I mean, 99% of the time, with France, it will mean no conflict. France is an ally of ours, one of our mother countries, but it is not us. We are independent. We have negotiations with France on things, military things, trade things, issues about the islands of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon. We have differences of opinions about things, especially these days with foreign affairs. In dealing with Russia and Ukraine and Iran and terrorism, we just have plain old differences, and that's fine. Allies can have differences of opinion, but Thomas Mulcair applied to be a loyal citizen of France. He chose them as an adult. And he actually voted in French elections. Let me say that again. Thomas Mulcair has a stake in the French government. In the French government, he voted in their election. And in fact, his wife went further. She actually ran for French elected office. France's government has a special ballot for French citizens living around the world. Translated, it's called the Assembly of French Citizens Abroad. Thomas Mulcair's wife, Catherine, ran for the Montreal seat in that assembly. You can see her name right here on the French ballot. Now, that wasn't decades ago. That was in 2009. So what if Canada and France have a disagreement over something trivial or something serious? What if the party leader that Mrs. Mulcair is loyal to in France is negotiating against Mr. Mulcair, Canada's Prime Minister? It's just too weird. And imagine if Quebec were to separate from Canada. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but imagine if it happened. France would be tempted to recognize Quebec as an independent country. What about French citizens, Mr. and Mrs. Mulcair? I'm not calling them traitors. I'm not even saying they're disloyal, though it is weird, you've got to admit, how much their hearts lie with another country's government while they seek to run our country's government. Let's just call it one of those weird European things that we'll never understand here in Canada. But look, it's time Mulcair did the right thing and renounce his French citizenship, not to be anti-France, just to be 100% Canadian. You don't have to be a right-winger to believe this. The Toronto Star, the most left-wing major newspaper in Canada, wrote an editorial 3 years ago calling on Mulcair to renounce his French citizenship. They said it out of friendship to him, telling him it would be a needless distraction in the election. They're right. They also quoted another NDP leader, Jack Layton, who weighed in on the matter himself. Remember Stéphane Dion, the Liberal leader a few years ago? He refused to give up his French citizenship too. Here's what Layton said about Dion. He said, quote, "I would prefer that a leader of a party hold only Canadian citizenship because one represents so many Canadians, and for me, that means that it's better to remain the citizen of one country." That's the last NDP leader, Jack Layton. It's not a right-wing thing or a left-wing thing. It's a Canadian thing. I mean, seriously, what does France offer Mulcair that is so valuable to him that Canada doesn't do it for him? It's just not right. I'm against Thomas Mulcair for a lot of reasons. He's soft on terrorism. He'll be an economic disaster. He has an unseemly hatred for the oil sands and pipelines. But this is something that isn't about ideology. It's about loyalty and community. If Stephen Harper had dual citizenship with the United States, it would be appropriate for him to renounce that too. And you know the left-wing media would never shut up about it. I mean, that's unthinkable. We're launching a petition. You want to sign it? I want to get 10,000 Canadians to sign a petition calling on Thomas Mulcair to choose Canada or France. He can still love France. He can still vacation in France. He can still speak French. It's one of our official languages. He's just got to choose one country. as his favorite? One country as his sole citizenship, one country to whom he pledges his loyalty? You can't have two. Canada or France. Click here to sign our petition or visit CanadaOrFrance.ca. Here's the petition. We, the undersigned Canadians, demand that Thomas Mulcair renounce his French citizenship and pledge his undivided loyalty to Canada. That's it. Pretty simple. Sign now at CanadaOrFrance.ca. You'd think it would be the least he could do if he wants to lead our country. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.